My job as someone who creates video essays and pop culture reviews is to look for the meaning in things, to get enthralled in a writer and artist's vision and piece apart what they were trying to say. For my job, I stay up till the wee hours of the night, rereading back issues, examining panels, and sifting through writer interviews. My job puts me on a deep quest, searching for wonder, searching for meaning, which is why my job is exceptionally harder when it comes to Three Jokers. Now, I'm not here to come out and say whether or not I like Three Jokers. This book has cathartic moments where, spoilers by the way, Batman gently holds Joe Chill's hand as he passes away from cancer. And it also has moments where this incel version of Red Hood begs to bang Barbara like, you could fix me. What I want to know is, why? Why this book? Today, we are diving into the minds of the creators of Three Jokers. In the pursuit of knowledge, we're going to understand what was going through their heads when they made this thing. Today, we will answer the question, why Three Jokers? The year is 2015. We are at the tail end of the New 52 reboot, and the climax of those stories that made it this far without getting canceled. And during this time, there was one book that was so hyped, so climactic, that it became one of the first New 52 events to receive its own prestige omnibus collection. That's right, I'm talking about Darkseid War. Darkseid War was big. It was the collaboration of two massive DC stars at the time, Jeff Johns on writing and Jason Fabok on art. And reveal after reveal, the story just kept hitting. There were payoffs all the way from issue 1 of John's Justice League run. But there was one moment in the story that absolutely floored fans. Something so bold, so batshit crazy that the very idea fueled its own hype. We're at Justice League number 42. The new god Metron contacts the Justice League about the coming threat of Darkseid. He sits on his Mobius chair, granting him omniscient knowledge. He commands the League to leave Earth, for there is no way to save it. Wonder Woman, however, cannot accept this. She binds him with her lasso of truth and asks, "How do we stop this?" Metron replies, "Take the chair from me." Diana yanks her lasso and Metron flies forward, the chair bursting with energy. Someone must sit upon it to contain all this energy. Batman rushes forward, looking to save everyone and contain the blast. He sits in the chair. Suddenly, a rush of knowledge invades his mind. The chair knows the answer to every question in the universe. So Batman tests the chair. "Who killed my parents?" Batman asks. The chair responds, "Joe Chill." A correct answer. Batman pauses. He asks the one question that he's wanted to know for years. What is the Joker's real name? But the chair doesn't respond with a name. It responds with something impossible. The chair responds, "There are 3 Jokers." What? What does that even mean? What is going on? This was the setup for Johns and Fabok's story titled Three Jokers. The book was delayed thanks to the two working on several other projects since 2015. But finally, in 2020, 5 years later, the book is released. And I cannot stress this enough. This was a setup in one of the biggest stories of the New 52, written by two of the most talented creators at DC, that we had to wait 5 years for. Nothing, and I mean nothing, could be more hyped. Okay, lots of things could be more hyped, but this, I don't know, it was kind of cool. Now, everything I've said about Three Jokers, Batman using the Mobius chair, Batman trying to solve the Joker's identity, forget all that, because none of that shows up in this book. So Three Jokers, let's quickly run over what happens in this story. There are apparently, as the title suggests, 3 Jokers.
I'm seeing double here. 4 Krusties.
One called the Criminal, one called the Clown, and one called the Comedian. And the story starts when these 3 plan to create a new Joker. Batman then partners up with Batgirl and Red Hood to track these hooligans down. Eventually they run into the Clown iteration of the Joker, and Red Hood just blows his fucking brains out. With only 2 Jokers left, the Criminal and the Comedian invite Batman to a showing at the Monarch Theater, where they reveal their plan to make Joe Chill into the next Joker, so that they can give the Joker more meaning. Batman eventually saves Chill, finally reconciling with the fact that his parents' killer was just a remorseful man pushed to his actions by poverty. As Bruce forgives Joe Chill, the Comedian kills the Criminal, revealing his absolutely bonkers plan to have Batman come to terms with Joe Chill so Joker can be the biggest villain in Batman's life. And the story ends with the most nuts, nonsensical, Bat-God fans wanking themselves off in a circle reveal when, Okay, let me just read this whole thing to you because it's so silly. Not to sound like people think I do, Alfred, but I'm Batman. I knew the Joker's identity 1 week after we first met. Apparently, he has to keep the Joker away from his family, hiding in protective custody by not revealing his identity to the world. And the story pans out as Batman travels hundreds of miles to stare at Joker's family for like 15 seconds, stating, "So yes, I know his name, but the Joker's name isn't important. It never has been." Especially in this story when the whole gimmick is to get the reader to finally find out who the Joker is, or 3 of them, I don't know, might be important. Sometimes I stay up at night and think to myself, why make 3 Jokers? The answer was at one point obvious. Well, certainly there is a mystery about why there have been not just 1, but 3 Jokers since his first appearance in Gotham. I sure don't know the answer, but that's actually a pretty exciting mystery. Were all of these Jokers active at the same time? Did one die and pass his legacy on to the next? Which Joker killed Jason Todd? Which one shot Barbara Gordon? The problem is, even in the 3 Jokers book, we don't find out any of that shit. The story wasn't made to be a mystery about the 3 Jokers, because by the end of it, we know absolutely nothing about how the 3 Jokers interact. Like, sure, we know there's 3 of them, hell, we even know one of their actual identities, but what were the actual mechanics of how the 3 Jokers operated over the years? So let me go through a few questions to get to the bottom of this. First off, why are there 3 Jokers? Like, what does the Joker benefit from making more of himself? This of course begs the question, which of these Jokers was the first one that had to create the other 2? But I'm not going to ask that because we don't know. But there has to be some sort of reason for the Joker creating multiple Jokers. The best theory you can come up with is that our boy, the criminal, was the first Joker and then ended up creating the other 2. Evidence A. His outfit is the same as the Joker's outfit in Batman #1 from 1939. This makes sense for a few reasons. First off, he's got that criminal aesthetic, which fits with that older version of the Joker. And second, he even goes after the Mox and Crime family in the story, which were a group of characters from way back in early in Batman's career. Evidence B, he looks old as shit. And evidence C, he has an actual motive to create more Jokers. The whole make Joe chill into the next Joker despite him having stage 4 cancer plan was made by the criminal because, as he mentions at some point, their goal is to always make a better Joker. But why? Even Batgirl in this story goes, what does that even mean? It's not like the criminal isn't also operating as the Joker right now. Or is he? We don't know, I guess. We have no clue why the Joker benefits from creating more Jokers. So next question. How do the 3 Jokers work and interact with each other over the years? And this is my favorite question because it has the least amount of explanation in the story. Look, Batman is a pretty good detective. Some would say he's the world's greatest detective. So how did he just not notice there were 3 people who all look pretty visually distinct that were all the Joker over these 3 years? Did one Joker just commit a crime, run around back, pass off his oversized pistol to the next one, wait for Batman to show up, knock him out, tag in the 3rd Joker? Like, how did any of this shit work? Or did Joker #1, whoever that was, criminal, did he just retire, say, fuck it, I don't want to commit crimes anymore, but I'd sure like there to be someone dressed up like me who does them anyway. You know, that Joker just hangs it up, makes the next one, but then also meets up with the boys every once in a while just to see how things are going. Surely there had to be some sort of system they had to evade Batman's suspicion, especially considering that he knew the actual identity of one of them. So let's say, for the sake of this thing, that the comedian was the real Joker this whole time. Those 2 Jokers, they're just, clown and criminal, they don't really matter. He just made those 2 right before this story started to mess with Batman. Well then, why did the Mobius chair tell Batman that there were 3 Jokers? By the end of 3 issues of 3 Jokers, we learn 0 things about how these characters work amongst each other. Which leads me to maybe the most important question of the bunch. Why does Batman not give a shit? When Batman learned that the Court of Owls were using some of his buildings to store weapons, he had a 32-page long panic attack. When Batman learns that there have been 3 Jokers this whole time, his biggest enemy, he just does not care. He never investigates why or how this might be a thing. The story just accepts that there have always been 3 Jokers and moves on like that's just not a big deal, which is a particularly large problem when the story is about the idea of having 3 Jokers. So with that, we know 3 Jokers wasn't created to be a mystery about the 3 Jokers. So why make it? Okay, so alright, hear me out. The three Jokers were a vehicle for the theme of the story, which is how Batman, Batgirl, and Red Hood deal with trauma. Johns was hyping this up as the core of three Jokers even before the book was released. It makes sense. You have three heroes, Bruce, Barbara, and Jason, who each dealt with trauma differently. Then you have three Jokers, presumably one for each of the three heroes. I mean, thematically, that fits pretty well. Everything's in threes. Anyway, trauma is a great focus for this kind of story. The Joker crippled Barbara, killed Jason, and of course showed Batman his boner. So each of these characters have suffered at the hands of the Joker. But now the question becomes, which Joker? Thematically, it makes perfect sense to make one of the three Jokers each responsible for one of the hero's personal tragedies. And you can kinda line it up. The comedian's the safest bet, considering Johns can't go 2 fucking seconds without mentioning the killing joke whenever he pops up. So the comedian shooting Barbara seems pretty likely. It also seems somewhat likely that the clown was the one that killed Jason, even though they never come out and say it. He has the most connection to Jason in this story, considering Jason kills him, and it would be a shame if Jason didn't end up killing the Joker who killed him. He just killed some other guy. And my favorite part of this exchange is after Jason just doesn't blink, blows his fucking brains out, he goes, "I hope that was the right one," which is especially funny because leading up to this moment, Joker's whole plan was explicitly turning innocent people into Jokers. So he kind of just rolls the dice and prays he doesn't just kill a civilian. Way to go, Jason. Great job. But the clown being the Joker from Death of the Family kind of lines up, considering he's supposed to be the Silver Age Joker, which you can tell because he brought back Gaggy in this issue. Okay, side note. Can you tell me who Gaggy is? No, you can't, because no one in their right mind has ever heard of Gaggy. He's the sadistic, pipsqueak Joker henchman that popped up for like 2 issues in the 1960s. And in this issue, he just shows up, wrinkly, old as shit, no one remembers him, and then he just gets eaten by a shark. Can we get some F's in the comments for Gaggy? This man stuck by the Joker for 60 years, got called back for one big mission, and then gets eaten by a shark on dry land. This man is the embodiment of loyalty. But if you're really trying to show that the clown was the Silver Age Joker, I think there's a few more well-known indicators you could include, but Gaggy, I'm still thinking about that one. But even though the clown and the comedian line up pretty nicely, the criminal really has no real trauma that he inflicted upon Bruce. Now, yeah, he's a serial killer and he tries to murder Bruce fairly often, but there's not one big event that the story lays out to really tie Batman to the criminal. And this whole 3 Jokers to reinforce 3 victims thing makes less sense when the book goes out of its way to not explain which Joker did which thing. And I don't mean it forgot to explain or just ran out of page space. I mean the book actively goes out of its way to try and hide which Joker did which thing. The Joker is all just I don't know, was it me? Was it him? Who knows? I'm the Joker, I'm fucking crazy. So the book doesn't seem to care about characters healing from the Joker's trauma, especially considering Batman's main trauma spawns from the death of his parents instead of the Joker. And yeah, they kind of address that in here, but it's still in time to the Joker. So what we're left with is this oversimplification of Batgirl heal good and Jason heal bad. And that works the same with 1, 3, or fucking 80 Jokers. And that's particularly annoying because it basically ignores all of Jason's growth in order to pigeonhole him as some damaged hog. Like when he came back and just started capping criminals left and right. Now I could understand how that's a wrong way to deal with trauma, but I don't know, I feel like if you got beat to near death with a crowbar, fucking exploded, got reality punched back into existence, and then hopped in a psychosis-inducing Lazarus pit, it might take you a little longer to heal. If the moral of your story is that killing people is the wrong way to heal and not killing people is the right way to heal, yeah, I agree with you, but I don't think you found a particularly nuanced or interesting theme. So that was my best bet. If the 3 Jokers don't even serve the theme of the story, why? Why 3 of them? If the book only had 1 Joker, would it have been called 1 Jokers? Only been 1 issue long? Did we need to build up to the stupid love note scene? Was that it? Okay, maybe if the story isn't about the mystery of the 3 Jokers, or the 3 Jokers don't reinforce the main theme, maybe it's a plot reason. Maybe the story would only make sense if they carried out a plan that specifically needed 3 Jokers. Alright, so what's the plan? Well, the whole thing is that they want to create a new Joker. Okay, I like where this theory's going. Basically, they get a shit ton of acid and just start dropping people into it, hoping these guys will become the next Joker. Now, this plan would actually be pretty tough to carry out if there was just one Joker, especially considering that all 3 Jokers are all going around Gotham at the same time committing different crimes. But here's the problem. In order to capture, carry, and subdue dozens of people, you don't just need 3 people. You need a heck of a lot more. That's the whole reason Joker needs his goons. But it doesn't matter if the people doing his dirty work are average criminals or people who are also named Joker. Like, the criminal and the comedian actively have like different plans in the story. When the comedian decides to even tip Batman off that they're doing this whole thing, it's not even like it's part of his plan. It's literally just because he wanted to for some reason. Sure, it makes more sense for the plan to be making a new Joker if there were several previously made Jokers, like the concept justifies the presence of the plan, but what justifies the concept? Like, if no one read any of the Mobius chair stuff, like Jeff Johns apparently, and they just went into issue 1 and Joker's plan was to create a 4th Joker, wouldn't your first thought be, since when were there a 2nd and 3rd Joker? If you wanted to tell a story about Joe Chill becoming the Joker, I guess it makes sense to establish the precedent that creating new Jokers is something the Joker does, but the only reason this Joe Chill thing would be one of Joker's plans would be that if the 3 Jokers thing already existed. It would be like if Lex Luthor hatched a plan to save his alien mother and father. The first thing the audience would think is, okay, since when did Lex Luthor have an alien mother and father? And the only clues the authors give you to the premise of the book is that it's called like Lex Luthor Alien or some shit. The idea for this plan is something you only come up with after you come up with the idea of 3 Jokers. It's not, I came up with this story for a story about the Joker making another Joker. It's, well shit, I came up with this idea for a story about 3 Jokers. Now that I've normalized this idea in my head for a few years while I've kicked around doing other projects, what would it make sense for these 3 Jokers to logically do? What do you want, Johns? Was the whole purpose of 3 Jokers to keep me up, chugging caffeine and a spiral downwards of mental collapse? Are we, the readers, meant to identify with Batman and his confusion and disbelief? Surely not, Johns couldn't have thought that far. So why? What's the point? Why do all their names have to start with C? The clown, the criminal? Oh, wait a minute. Maybe that's it. Maybe the goal wasn't about the story at all. Maybe it's about deconstructing the Joker's evolution throughout the years. I mean, I guess Johns was playing around with meta-commentary after those 3 years it took him to release Doomsday Clock. Okay. You see, this must not be a story about the Batman, or Batgirl, or Red Hood, or any of the other main characters of the book. No, this is a story about the Joker. How could any writer explain the drastically different changes in character of Joker over the years? I mean, Johns is right. Joker started out as a mobster, a criminal, one might say. And eventually Batman 66 came out and Joker started talking about boners and he became an Iranian diplomat. The dude was fucking nuts. His behavior was clownish, some might say. And now in this modern era, Joker is this very serious, evil guy. And in The Killing Joke, he did stand up and was a horrible person. There's just no way to explain this change in character. Right, Superman letting Jimmy Olsen die of thirst? Clearly these Jokers must all be separate people. There's no other explanation. What is that? Did I read Batman 663? No, the issue's like all made of text. Why would I read that? It takes too long. All right, one sec. Okay, this issue right here, Batman number 663, The Clown at Midnight. Wow, is this a good issue. This is the birth of Grant Morrison's Joker for their expansive run on Batman. And who would have thought? Grant Morrison? They know what they're doing. In their previous works like Arkham Asylum, shout out to that one person in the comments who keeps asking me to do a video on this story, by the way, the Joker is labeled not as insane, but as super sane, that he is constantly barraged with such a massive amount of sensory information that he can only focus on the present and act in the moment, which is a pretty great explanation as to why the Joker might constantly change his personality to adapt to the inputs around him. In this issue, the Joker drops onto the floor and just starts convulsing, and we see this horrific transformation as Joker changes personalities to fit Morrison's new take on him. Morrison did the same thing they did to the Joker with Batman, making all of his craziest stories canon, from Batman wielding a gun to getting hit with a shrink ray and becoming Bat-Baby. I love Bat-Baby. You see this panel? It's awesome. Morrison had this wonderful in-universe explanation for making everything the Joker did canon. It was genius, and I guess proved the Joker can still be one guy after all these years. So the idea of splitting the Joker into 3 people is kind of just arbitrary, especially if we don't know whether or not these Jokers were real by the end of the story. I thought I was onto something. So why? Why, Johns? Why did you have to make 3 of them? It wasn't a story about a mystery that involved the 3 Jokers. The 3 Jokers had fuck all to do with the theme. Joker's plan would have worked with 3 Jokers, a few goons, or 2 unpaid interns. And divvying the Joker up into 3 characters is really just an unnecessary and overly literal way of explaining his continuity. It just doesn't make sense. It's crazy. And I've read crazy Batman stories before. I've read all the issues of All-Star Batman and Robin and waited in line at conventions to get them signed. I read Batman Odyssey and found some sort of meaning, and Batman explained to me that Ubu transformed into a man-bat while eating a banana. I've read all 75 issues of Tom King's Batman and kind of made out what he was going for. But this? As Nicholas Finch from BatmanNews.com mentioned, it's a story about a concept that is never explored. So why 3 Jokers? What did this story bring to the table that hasn't been done in years? It's obvious. I know why 3 Jokers. The answer was obvious. It was bringing back Gaggy.
Gaggy is back.
Hey everyone, it's good to be back. If you've been wondering where I've been, I got a new job recently, so I had to put video making onto the side for a while. But hey, I'm glad to be back. In the comments, give me your best version of 3 Jokers. What would their plan have looked like? Who's in charge? How did you explain any of the stuff that wasn't explained in the story? I'd be interested to hear it. And if you liked the video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, any of that stuff. And you can follow me on Twitter over at InfinityIncom1. I tweet sometimes. All right, everyone. I'll see you all next time.